So for us, we decided to sell our house, move out of New York State, and just find another state that we wanted to live in. There's a lot of reasons why we wanted to do that, and we'll link the video above to some of the reasons, and for us, the big important ones, why we decided to do that. So obviously, if we're leaving, we had to sell our house. And this being the time of the pandemic, there were some special things that we needed to take into consideration. Selling our house, there was a disclosure that the people looking at the house had to sign if they had COVID, or if they were tested anytime soon, that they had to disclose to us what their test results were. That was the biggest change that we saw. But because of the way that the housing market is now, that was the biggest thing that we noticed. So we listened to a lot of the advice from our real estate agent, which you really should do because obviously they know what they're talking about. But when we came into it, I came into it with the buyer's market mentality, because that's when we bought our house, which was to say that we would put our house on the market for a certain amount of money, and then we'd have to negotiate back up to that dollar amount because they would underbid. And then there would be all these caveats and all these considerations that we needed to think about when selling our house. But because it's actually a seller's market, meaning it's more in favor for the seller, we got over asking price. The people who ended up buying our house did not do an inspection. They were pre-qualified for a mortgage. They were doing 20% down. Yes, the appraisal got waived because so many houses in our neighborhood went up for sale and were sold in the last couple months that the bank just kind of said, nah, never mind. We'll just take your word for it. Which, we spoke to our realtor out of state, and she was like, that's pretty unusual. But again, given the circumstances where so many houses were being sold in your market.
One really interesting thing about selling a house during a pandemic, because that is the fact that it's a seller's market currently, but also the fact of the whole virus thing, was that one, our realtor ended up being exposed to someone who was positive. So she didn't, in order to come over to our house to look at our house, and I preferred, she said she could just do a video with us, but I really wanted her to see all the nooks and crannies, all the little errors, because we knew our house was not perfect. So I wanted her to see that. So she had to come in gloved and masked and left all the doors open that she touched and all of this stuff in order for her to walk through, and we couldn't be there for that. That's not always the case, but that was kind of the rule she had to follow because of her exposure, which I don't think she ever tested positive or anything like that. But it was great. And it still worked out well. In order to stage the house, I ended up just shooting picture after picture to her, and she would tell me what to move, what to change, how to do it. And we had been preparing. That's one thing I would say is we have been thinking for a few years that we would eventually want to leave New York. And so we started, we painted our bathrooms last year, I think, right? Was it last year?
Yep.
So we started doing some very slight home improvements, and then I got the idea. I was like, well, I just want to paint these rooms and paint our kitchen cupboards. So we were doing that when we kind of were like, yes, now we should definitely consider putting the house on the market.
Yeah. And the big tipping point for me was driving around our neighborhood and seeing all these for sale signs going up. And then 2 days later, the for sale signs are gone, or they have that little marker in top that said sold. And I was like, wow, this really is, if we're going to sell our house, this is the market to sell it in, because it's a supply and demand thing. There's no supply and the demand is there, for whatever reason there is. I think the big reason is just people moving out of big cities, or people, because of politics, moving to or from certain states.
Yeah. The interest rate is also
the interest rate is, because we're going to close on a house soon out of state, and the interest rate is 2.5%.
So the process that we went through with selling the house, mostly the biggest thing they said to us was make sure your house looks clean and organized. Clean and organized was kind of the biggest thing. Clean and fresh. So we painted, I had finished painting the cupboards, we painted the kitchen, we painted the family room, We ended up painting the whole entryway because they said the entryway, just a note, the entryway is a really important place to have it look really nice because people spend time right there talking about what they saw in the house, so they spend a little bit more time in that area. Just a little tip if you haven't talked to a realtor yet, but you want to kind of know what we did in order to prepare our house. And we have 3 kids, and when we moved into our house, we were like, we're not going to do much upgrading on it, and we changed the floor. That was like was our first project as a married couple.
That was a good one. There was an old linoleum floor which had like yellow marks on it from wear and tear. So we replaced that and put tile in. But for us, the carpets too, we said we weren't going to replace a lot of the carpets because we knew we were going to have kids, and we knew that they were going to, not intentionally, but like spill things on it and destroy the carpets. So that was an upgrade that we wanted to wait on. Mm-hmm. We also had several different colored appliances in the house when we moved in. But after but again, we said that once things broke, we would replace them and upgrade them. Yeah. And we ended up doing that with 2 items, our refrigerator and the dishwasher. Again, we said we were going to put the house on the market. We decided to upgrade or paint certain rooms and make certain upgrades and do all that stuff ahead of time. Because again, for me, walking into this thinking it was more of a buyer's market, I didn't want to have someone come in with this laundry list of stuff to do that said, this is outdated, you need to update this, you need to fix this and this and this. Because to me at that point, it's if we're going to spend all this money fixing it up, we're just going to stay here. You know, we're not going to spend all this money fixing it up to try to sell it for less than what our asking price is. But again, because it's more a seller's market, we didn't run into a lot of that. There were certain things that we knew we needed to upgrade or fix, like you're saying, the paint,
the deck.
The deck, yeah, because the railing rotted, so we had to replace that. Mm-hmm. There were certain safety things that we knew would be an issue that we just hadn't gotten to, so we updated it and we fixed all that to make the house look more attractive.
Yeah. So, but I just want to say that because we did not do like this huge splashy thing of, you know, we slowly did, like we just fixed our driveway last year, and John put a garage door in a year or so ago. Yep. So we have had things that we did refinish the basement, most of it, the 2 of us. Second project as a married couple.
Last one.
We don't do a lot together. So those were things that we did, but mostly, our kids just, like, our carpets needed to be replaced. We ended up they just recommended getting someone in to clean the carpets, which we did. It was about $400. Is that how much it cost?
$450, something like that.
And we have about 2,000 square foot home. So it cost about $400 to do it. And then we also, we didn't actually end up doing it, but something our realtor recommended. So if you want to do this for your house, just in case, she said to just have someone who replaces carpets, if you have that issue with your carpets, come in and give you an estimate. So that way you have a real number to give back to any buyer to say, hey, you know, the carpets is an issue for you. Here's how much it would really cost. So that can be part of the negotiation.
So our house went to the market on a Wednesday, and our realtor said we are taking offers by 5 p.m. Sunday. So on Sunday, we started getting text messages from her, first offer in, second offer in. I think we had 4 offers officially came in, and because of the market, because it is a seller's market, some of them had escalation clauses in that. So what an escalation clause is that you say you're going to pay $200,000 for this house, but you are willing to go up to $250,000 in increments of $1,000, you know, based upon whatever other offers come in. So to say, oh well, we put 200 in, but really we would have gone to 210 if we knew somebody came in with 205. You have that built into the contract. And again, our realtor on our behalf reached out to everyone else and then said, okay, best and final offer, that's what we're looking at now. And again, she kind of gave us this little presentation that said what their offer was, what their move-in date was, like a lot of the other aspects of accepting or denying the offer. Like, so the people who moved in didn't go for an inspection, which I thought was odd, but I mean, we knew that there was nothing wrong with our house. You know, we had several things fixed because they broke. You know, like our roof was pretty much brand new. So we had certain items like that, which we knew they weren't going to find anything in an inspection, but because they forewent it, and because of a lot of the other stuff, their closing date, we decided to go with them. Plus, it was also the highest offer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're not going to sit here and pretend that we didn't just go for the highest amount of money, but we did because it had a lot of other options built into their offer that we liked. And again, that was a big thing for us because in order for us to move and we wanted to put 20% down on a new home. And so for a lot of the other little bits and pieces, we knew what we needed as our minimum, but we were willing to accept.
Yeah, and it's funny, as we went through the process, we were like, we need at least this. And then we would like do the math in our head and we'd start thinking about like all like the moving costs and, you know, what if we couldn't get a home right away? We would have to rent and like all these different things. And so our price kind of went up, and it was really cool to see how God, like, we came to this price and we were like, this is like really what the best case scenario, we need this price, and God gave us that price, which was really awesome. We got $20,000 over our asking price, which was pretty cool for us, and to not having had to put a ton of work in. I mean, there was work, like it wasn't like we did nothing. We had to like box up a bunch of stuff and declutter and stage and paint.
That's definitely a huge aspect to keep in mind when you're going through this, is to say, because I was on the end that I didn't want to remodel our entire house to sell it, because at that point, how much did we just put into it versus how much we're going to get out of it? So settled on, this is how much work we're going to do, this is what it's going to cost us, we're okay with that. And then, you know, in our heads kind of saying, all right, this is the amount that we need in order to pay off what we just put into the house, pay off the house, have extra money for, you know, putting money down and moving and all of that other stuff. Any more for our house, and I probably would have been like, I don't really think it's worth that
more
much.
Than that. Yeah. For us too, it just was a process of saying how much would we be willing to spend and be okay if God closed that door, and that wasn't an option for us. And we really believe in God directing us through this entire thing. So for us, we didn't want to spend $10,000 to be like, oh, we didn't sell our house for what we needed to sell it for and then be there. We were okay with the amount of money we put in, and we would have been happy to have stayed there and still had that little bit of money that we'd have to pay off. So we didn't want to over invest in something that we were kind of doing a big leap of faith, trusting God kind of thing.
As a highlight from sale to close, we put our house on the market. You know, we spoke to our realtor. She gave us a lot of good recommendations and was really good with everything. So we accepted our offer. It went to the buyers got that information. It went to the lawyers. They all did their stuff. So that we have then we got the buyer's mortgage approval, which is just a bank letter saying that they've been approved and all of that. Again, like we said, the bank appraisal was waived, which is very unusual, but because of the market that we're in, I think something like 20 houses in our neighborhood sold over the last couple months. So from the beginning of 2020 until we contracted with our real estate agent, she said she sold 79 homes or something like that. She'd sold 70 homes in 2020 alone. And she gave us a lot of like the numbers, and again, like we said, it was a supply and demand thing. There's just no supply, so the demand is going through the roof because people are looking for homes. So they had the house surveyed, which was kind of odd because all of a sudden there was just this random guy walking in our backyard. So we weren't notified on that. One of the big COVID things that I would say was that we were contacted by our lawyer to come in about a week ahead of time, so we could have all the documentation signed and everything ready to pass on to their lawyer. When we signed for this house, we didn't. It's not like we were sitting there at the table with the seller anyway, and we weren't all just like sitting around talking and stuff. So that may have just been the normal procedure anyway, but you know, they said, hey, you know what, we know everything's going to go to closing. Let's just get the paperwork signed so this way you don't have to come in, and we can kind of work more flexible around your schedule. And also thankfully we had the closing date moved up about like a week and a half.
Which was nice. It worked out really well because we really needed that extra time to do a mail-in close for our house down in South Carolina. Really, I mean, everyone was on board with it, and they were like, we can't guarantee it. And then all of a sudden they were like, the lawyers say everything is ready. And we were like, what?
I think we were pretty convinced that it was going to close early. as long as the buyers were on board with it closing early, and obviously they were, because they did.
The one thing that was really different from a buyer's to a seller's market that I want to bring up is that during a buyer's market, when you're selling your house, it's like people randomly make appointments to see your house, where the way this was set up, and some of it is the seller's market, some of it is just a realtor I think we worked with, and I think a lot of realtors are doing this. Like he said, we put it on the market on this day with a close time to put all your offers in by this time. So there was a whole weekend. We basically just went and stayed with my parents. And we had to bring the cats because they say don't have your animals there. So we brought the cats over, and we were thinking we were going to transport them back and forth, but the one drive was traumatic enough for them. So we left them at my parents' house. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for letting us do that. But we would just get, like, on our phone, it would be like, somebody wants to come see the house at this time. And we would just accept the time period. And we had 18 people come and look at our house over that time period. So we were displaced from our house for a couple of days, but that's it. It wasn't like our house was on the market for a month or two, and like we had to keep trying to keep our house clean, because they also say make it look like you don't live there, which is ridiculous.
Although some of the houses we were looking at down south, the one house, I know you know which one I'm talking about. When we were flipping through pictures, they had a dog crate in one of the rooms with 3 dogs stuffed in it. And I'm not commenting on the dogs being in the crate, because they all look like they were, family anyway. But our real estate agent told us, make sure there's no trace of animals in the house whatsoever. And they had their dogs in the picture. It's not even like they moved the picture or moved the crate to take the picture and then moved it back. So I just thought that was funny.
It is. And I mean, it's a stressful couple of days, but I would much have rather that. Like, we were really lucky to have a place to go, because trying to keep a house clean, anyone who has kids knows it's almost impossible to keep it clean, let alone make it look like no one lives there. To try to keep the bathrooms, everything just look clean and vacuumed and wiped down and all of those things. So that was really cool, I think, about doing this in a seller's market, is that yes, it's a stressful couple days, but then it's over. And you can go back to living in your house the way it is and just hope your kids don't break anything and nothing breaks before you close. When we were moving, a hole became an issue in one of the walls from moving something, so we actually had to patch that up.
Yeah, I said that in a different video that you can, I'll link that one above too, that we kind of punctured a little bit of a hole in one of the walls while we were moving stuff. So I was like, being the person that I am, I'm just going to tape a $50 bill over it. But then I was like, well, it's not the master bedroom, it's one of the kids' rooms. And if they have a kid, they're going to walk out of the room with a $50 bill and be like, where'd you get that? Like, oh, it's taped over the hole in the wall. But
no, we fixed it.
Yeah, we fixed it.
He did most of the work. I painted it, sanded it, and painted it.
It was a team effort.
We did. We try to work as a team.
See, we can do some projects together.
We can. Actually, we do really well with dividing and conquering. It's more of our strong suit. Yeah. So, all right.
Anyway, thanks for watching this video. If you guys want, you can leave some comments below if you have any questions for us. Obviously, we would appreciate it if you subscribed, and we have other videos coming out on what it's like to move, what it's like to homeschool during a pandemic. A lot of stuff is going on because of this pandemic, and because we are trying to uproot our family and move as well. But really, we would just like to take you guys along for the journey and show you what it's like and what we experienced, to hopefully just inform you, and you can make good decisions too. So.
All right.